a little bit about Grill in the Ville. It is becoming slowly one of Florida's biggest recruiting events of the year. This year was marked by, I believe, 17 current commits that were on campus this weekend. But before we go into that list, Nick Silk, your thoughts from what you've heard of how the weekend went?
I think it was a good weekend. A lot of 15 of the 21 commits, and then you get some younger guys as well. So I think it's more of a chill vibe. You play some games, do some stuff. Recruiting has changed. Like that would have been typically like Friday Night Lights weekend, the very last weekend. And by the time you get to that, a lot of the elite kids are either now, since they're committing in December, already committed or just done. They're like, yo, I'm not putting on cleats and camping for you. Last weekend in July. It's just not going to happen.
Fall camp time, bro.
Let's make some relationship ribs, some relationship ribeyes, and just chill out. So I think that's more of the vibe, and you're starting to see that at other places. I think like Georgia did their own version, Florida State did their own version. Miami's still trying to find financials, so I don't know if they have the money to run their own version. I don't know. They're spending Dan's money. So I think it's a good weekend overall, and you do some team bonding with your commits, and then also you got some guys, like Wardell Mack who are there that, you've got a chance for your commits to try to get them to be commits or to do their own recruiting job.
Yeah, I love the vibes from it. I wish there were a few more kids. We had some cancellations. I wish we could have got Zay Mancy and LJ McCray on campus. We did get LJ on campus before the cookout, and he ended up spending it in Georgia this weekend. But a couple kids I wish we could have got there. Even the Pickett kid, that's a 2025 athlete. He ended up down in Miami. But perfect time to end up down in Miami. Even Zay Mancy, I was a little like just, let down by that. And then the Ruiz news broke. I was just like, perfect timing. And yeah, if he's hanging out with Ruiz and this type of news break, it's got to be a great look. But
great opportunity to ask some questions in person.
Correct.
That's all.
What exactly does this NIL deal mean? How is this being paid out?
Mr. Ruiz, the feds don't miss. And right now, you are in their crosshairs. What do you say about that, sir? If I was Zay Mancy, that's me if I was Zay Mancy, but I'm not. But outside of that, outside of a few kids that didn't make it, I thought it was a very successful event. It looked fun. The dance move they were doing on TikTok, I know there's some grown men on Twitter that are making fun of kids dancing at a barbecue, but this is right up the alley. As long as the kids are having fun, this staff is really good with building those relationships. And outside of the reels, you can just see there's a lot of chemistry. It's genuine. So I like the feedback from that perspective. Would have liked to see, a couple of 2025 people pop. That didn't happen, which is all good. I still think we're in a good spot. Wardell Mack is a defensive back. We definitely needed. Jamari Howard didn't show up. I don't know if it's time to move on or what, but the defensive backboard, I think we can solidify some things if we could get him. I don't know if we're it's a battle there with three teams, us, Texas, and LSU. But Wardell Mack seemed to enjoy himself, love the feedback, and the guys of the 2024 class are really, rallying around him. So just good vibes. Even with the LJ McCray, he tweeted a picture of Kirby, and all the guys that were at the barbecue, you could tell they just started hashtagging, and recruiting on the timeline and socials. So I love the chemistry and what we saw from this weekend when it pertains to the barbecue. Good little vibe. Some of the current players were around this event as well. So just good chemistry, good vibes right before fall camp started. Good way to wrap up the summer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think from all intents and purposes, it went well. Let's run through that list of folks that were on campus. DJ Lagway was back, and I believe he is still on campus today. And Jeremiah Smith was not at Grill at the Ville, but he did come to campus yesterday, and he is staying through today. So that's obviously great news for the Florida Gators. Xavier Filisame was in town. Aaron Childs, four-star linebacker, also in town, said that his commitment is 100% shut down. 100% committed to the Gators. He's ready to go. A guy that Florida got to commit when he visited last month, a name that Florida had been recruiting for a while, but I think a lot of fans were a bit surprised that his commitment was announced when he was on campus. And then, some folks thought, hey, maybe he just got caught up in the buzz and the hype of what that weekend was. But again, has committed has stayed committed and said that he's 100% committed. Miles Graham, who just announced that he's going to be going to Buchholz High School there in Gainesville. He was in town. Jeray Hawkins, Darius Hayes, Amir Jackson, Kendall Jackson, who's now going to be Miles Graham's teammate there at Buchholz. Wardell Mack, Jamonte Miller, Fletcher Westfall was on campus for the first time since his commitment from Leesburg. Amaris Williams, Micah Boyro, Josiah Davis, Teddy Foster, Marcus Maskell, and Noel Portnejagin.
Yeah, good job, bro.
Time. But yeah, so, Silk, I think you made a point about Jamari Howard. Your thoughts? Obviously, we're not on the recruiting staff. We don't have a relationship with these kids. But is it time to move on from Jamari Howard?
I would think so. And I like Wardell. It's South Florida, bro. So I expect some shenanigans. He was committed to Michigan State, and then his stock just started rising really fast. And I don't know if you move on, but I would prioritize him different. Wardell Mack, I don't know where he's at in the pecking order right now. There's some that's saying that they probably had other guys a little higher, but I wouldn't hesitate to take his commitment, and then you continue to recruit Zay Mincy, who we view as a cornerback, and also Grimsley, who's at Bama. That would just be my move, and I think the DB board would be more than fine without Jamari Howard. I think he's good, but he ain't good enough to be dealing with what we're dealing with. They had him penciled in for the barbecue. He didn't make it. Ends up at Florida State. We haven't really got a visit from him since when, and I think the last visit was because of track or something like that. So it just happened to be on our campus. Yeah, I would personally. I'm Corey Knowles, not Corey Raymond, but I would personally move on.
Yeah, and Florida obviously got a spectacular DB class last year. Obviously we want to try to get as many high 4-star and 5-star guys, but sometimes you just can't. And even the year before, they got a lot of names, and then you add in some transfers and stuff like that. I don't think Florida is going to be taking a huge DB room. I know Zay Mincy is probably number one on my board. Wardell Mack is a guy that we've heard Florida has mixed thoughts on. Not that they wouldn't take him or that he's not a great player, but just where he fell on that board. But the chips are starting to fall into place. I know Wardell Mack wants to make his decision between now and the beginning of football season. So we're starting to narrow in on that time, and him coming to campus is obviously good for the Gators. I think that there was somebody that put in a prediction for him to go to Texas on 3 the other day. But again, Florida's going to press hard for Wardell Mack. So again, Florida's going to look to probably be at 22, 23 commitments going into the football season. Might lose 1 or 2, but that means this entire football season they can spend just continuing to solidify those relationships, start to focus on the 2025 group, and then hopefully just get those last couple of pieces. What do you think those last couple of pieces might look like?
Man, I would love to. Jeremiah Smith is on campus, and I'm not one to just drinking the Kool-Aid of Jeremiah Smith. I think he's telling a lot of programs what they want to hear, but I don't think he's solid to Ohio State. But I think a lot of teams feel good for a reason. The kid's keeping his options open in a very good way. So a receiver, a 5-star receiver to go with my 5-star quarterback would be beautiful. And then elite offensive linemen, tackles preferably, if we could try to poach one. I think we are going to go out to RB2 this class, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, you could be a little bit picky with and upgrade some things. So in my opinion, receiver, offensive tackle, and running back, which is not running back is running back. It's easy to find a good running back. Offensive tackles and 5-star Jeremiah Smiths aren't. What's up, Nick?
You've done the bulk of the heavy lifting with this class. You've gotten defensive line, you've gotten some cornerbacks, some safeties, and after you had a loaded class last year, so you can be a little bit pickier in the defensive back room. But I mean, you're not going to get much better than Xavier Filsaime. So I think what you just hit on, Silk, you've got a 5-star quarterback. Give me a 5-star that he can throw the ball to. If there was a great tight end, like when I'm going through and breaking all this stuff down for Gators Online, the rooms, like Florida's tight end room is massive. They have a ton of bodies in there, but not a guy that I can look at and be like, all right, that's a dude. If you could find a dude at tight end, I don't know that there is one available or one that you could flip, but that'd be one. But Florida's class is pretty much full, and now you're just trying to cherry pick. If you can get a 5-star receiver, like Silk said, or an offensive tackle that can either be ready day one or contribute as a freshman. Because when I look at Florida's offensive tackles, once you get Keontae Goodwin out of the fold, going home to take care of business with his mother, and prayers up to them in that situation. Now you've got a guy who played at FIU who might be in the mix as a depth piece for 2023. So I think offensive tackle is a spot that you're going to look at. Losing Austin Barber after this year, probably that you need to get somebody in quickly.
Yeah, and Silk, you mentioned LJ McCray. Obviously a guy that Florida's looking, trying to really get into this class. It's a guy they've been recruiting for a while. Trying to you start to add these numbers up, and numbers always work out, but we're probably in that final 5 or 6 spots now. Florida could really use that number 1 wide receiver. Nick, I think with Amir Jackson, I think Florida's probably okay at tight end. They go into next season with, I think, 8 on the roster. You're probably going to end up losing a few. That seems like pretty bloated room to have, just for all sensitive numbers, unless you expect to lose 3 or 4 guys in that group. I just don't know if tight end outside of Amir Jackson is the number 1 priority. RB2 throws a wrench into things. Who does Florida go after? Do they go after an RB2, or are they going to try to do some heavy lifting for a really big RB1? I don't know. Try to get, Bowen's back in the class. Do you really try to up the bag for the Gainesville running back? Who knows, right? So there's a lot of different things here. Interesting thing about Jarrett Gibson, heard that there might be a transfer on the horizon for him to a school that is coached by a former Florida Gator. So will be interesting to watch. Again, the transfer portal's open as well. So that's what we're looking like in the class. Thought Grill on the Ville went pretty well. Silk, I think you made a good point. I think it would have liked to see a few more of that 2025 and 2026 group come in, but it is what it is. I think football practice for most schools probably starts this week. So I think school for most of Florida starts next week. So, there might have been some things. And then, of course, Florida State and Miami also had something going on. Can't expect everybody in. So any final thoughts on Grill in the Ville before we get into Florida Gators Media Day?
Nah, man. Shout out to Shannon Snell for, a relationship ribs. I'm going to need that brother to get some vegan options next year.
No.
What?
No.
That's why I didn't go. I would have had to eat hot dog buns, man.
You'll catch hands before you catch a vegan option at a Shannon Snell barbecue. I mean, even the green beans have bacon or some short rib pieces in there, some burnt ends in the green beans. There is no vegan option at the barbecue.
So
the Hawaiian rolls.
You can have his hot dog bun with relish and mustard again.
Hawaiian rolls have dairy, Nick. Broke my heart when I had to stop eating them.
You don't have to. It's a choice.
Yeah, kind of, but.
What'd you guys think?
I'm in too deep now.
Yeah, what'd you guys think of Jeremiah Smith saying that Mike Norvell is probably the best coach in college football?
I think Jeremiah Smith is the greatest of all time at recruiting. I think he's the GOAT recruit, bro. Like, to be able to tell a lie like that with a straight face, man, like, this kid's top notch. He's elite with it. I've never seen anything like it.
It's a hat tip to South Florida again.
Bro, he's different. He ain't even South Florida. He's just Jeremiah Smith, bro. Like, this kid left that, and then there was people on Florida State message boards that thought he was about to flip. Like, this kid lies at elite levels.
Yeah, there was a reporter from Florida State that said he's ready to put Jeremiah Smith on flip watch, and he said we feel really good about that, as in Florida State. Thought it was interesting for a Florida State reporter to call the team we, but show goes on.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, let's get into the season, which starts today.